Well, thank you. We're happy to have you here this morning. My name is Jeff Ray. I'm the president and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce of St. Joseph County. We're honored to be your host this morning for what we think is a pretty exciting community announcement. It's just a couple years ago that we sat in this room and we introduced you to a new friend to our community, Mr. Andrew Berlin. And remember that day when we were here, we talked about first, he was a very avid baseball fan, but he also was a successful entrepreneur and a businessman. And that day, Andrew brought a great deal of excitement to our communities. He talked about and helped us reimagine what baseball, what downtown, what the community might look like with some new energy down there at the stadium. And so then 2 years later, we gathered again in here for another significant community announcement where we're reimagining what was happening in the downtown area, and with the exciting announcement about the renaming of the field and the partnership that had been forged with the Pokagon Band of the Potawatomi Indians and the Four Winds Resort and Casino. And so a couple of significant announcements, and what we've seen in the last couple of years is really an amazing amount of energy and excitement here as a successful businessman from somewhere else recognize the great opportunities that exist here in the South Bend region, and we've been happy with that. Well, today we're here to celebrate something different. Another unique community partner has recognized that the good things happening here in the South Bend region, and today we're here to celebrate that exciting announcement and share some important details with you. We have an important connection. Many of us over the last week or so have heard a number of wonderful stories about our connection with the Chicago Cubs. We have great memories as kids. I was sharing with some of them my memory as a little kid, 8 years old, as the Chicago Cubs are visiting the area, and I get my picture on the lap of first baseman Bill Buckner, and forever I was endeared to the Cubs, and so many have like stories in this community. Well, today we're here to celebrate that excitement and talk and unveil some exciting new details related to that relationship. So my pleasure as we start to introduce Deputy Mayor for the City of South Bend, Mr. Mark Neal.
Thank you, Jeff. It truly is a pleasure to be with you all today. Jeff mentioned excitement. There's been excitement since Andrew Berlin has taken over the Silverhawks and brought in, I think, a new, rejuvenated, and a vision for the future. It's extremely exciting to have brought on the Chicago Cubs as our new affiliate here in South Bend. Adds to the excitement, adds to the momentum, adds to what's happening here in South Bend. A storied franchise, to be sure, a name that is synonymous with baseball, a name that we can all, I think, as I see some of the Cub hats out here, to say that we are excited to have them coming to town. We know what this means to downtown, what it means to the south side of downtown as we continue to build on the momentum here in the city. But I think the team has also been very clear that we're building on the momentum of the region. There's a lot of good going on. People come from 50 miles away to come see the team play. I think we're now seeing them come from 100 miles away to see the team play. So it is extremely exciting. We know it's good for the region. We know it's good for South Bend. We know it's good for our community. I do want to thank Andrew, the team, Joe Hart, and all the folks that they've put together to make a fantastic management team here in the city. I want to thank Four Winds, the Pokagon Band, the chairman, John Warren, for his efforts here, Scott Brewer, that their belief in this team and this city and what this means to our community. Could not be more pleased to have the affiliate here in South Bend, could not be more pleased to have these partners with us here in South Bend, because they do have a vision, they are building the excitement, they are still building a great team and opportunity here in the city. So thank you very much. And with that, I'd like to introduce Andrew Berlin.
Wow, I gotta say, this morning's happy dance was not for nothing. This is great for South Bend, but I sure feel very, very happy these days. For the last week, I can't stop smiling. I'm going to show you a quick video first, and then from there I'll make a few remarks, and then we'll introduce you to Cubs management. But for all of you in the media, for the fans that came here, thank you very much. there's no bad news here today. This is all good news. This is happy news, and it's news that's really well deserved for this whole entire region. So why don't we start the video, and then we'll move on with the program.
I'd like to see more of the players coming up through our system, being coached by the same coaches for a period of time, really being taught the way we want them to be taught.
Someday, the Chicago Cubs are going to be in the World Series.
I came here to help build that foundation, help the Cubs win.
Sooner than we think.
Baseball is better with history. Baseball is better with fans who care. Baseball is better in ballparks like this.
So when they make it to Wrigley, they're part of an organization, not just a guy that we brought in to fill a hole.
And ultimately results in a World Series. It's going to impact a lot of Cubs fans who for generations have waited and waited for a World Series.
A World Series. Part of playing to win is about keeping promises, delivering. Like a South Bend team that sets new records every year. But improvements are never done. This year, at their own expense, South Bend's team is replacing the artificial turf with natural turf. Better for professional ball players. A few weeks from now, the team breaks ground on the finest indoor batting facility in the league. 15,000 square feet with 6 tunnels and 2 pitching mounds here over the right field wall. A new weight training and fitness center will be finished in the off-season, as well as a new team clubhouse where players and coaches can relax before and after games, also built in the off-season. And in South Bend, players and coaches always receive overwhelming public support every season by thousands of fans in the region who love professional baseball. Over 750,000 in this designated market area alone. South Bend, a short, simple drive to Wrigley Field that fans from this region have made for decades. South Bend, a microcosm of Chicago in so many ways, with an international airport, direct flights to major cities across the country, and one of the most experienced executive teams in minor league baseball. A team that gets it. A team that understands this is about doing everything we can to develop players who make it. About giving ball players every advantage we can. Honoring what it means to be a professional baseball team in this community. And doing everything South Bend fans and team can do to help the Chicago Cubs make it to the World Series.
It seems to me the ingredients, the nucleus is there.
And about taking the field in this city next spring with a new name. A name that everyone in this region loves.
Someday, the Chicago Cubs are going to be in the
The
World Series.
Cubs. The South Bend Cubs.
That foundation for sustained success is going to impact a lot of people who for generations have waited for a World Series.
As you've seen, there's a mission. Mission number 1 is for this team to make it to the World Series, and in no small part through the help and the aid of what is now going to be known as the South Bend Cubs. read a few remarks, and then we'll move on with the program. But I have to say, I just couldn't be more excited. The logo that you see before you was granted to us by the minor league for its use today. It's in progress, and it has to go through all the appropriate trademark registrations and so forth. But it may be a slight modification to this, but this is the logo we're going to be going with. Of course, there'll be many proliferation of other logos that the Cubs use, whether it's the bear itself with its full face head on, or the side profile of the bear, or any other bear we can possibly come up with that's going to remind you of the Cubs. even a more fearsome bear. So the colors and the uniforms will match those of the Major League franchise as well. And to make our players feel great about being here and being on that road to the majors, we're going to have their names on the backs of their jerseys as well. Our community, our fans, even our opposition will come to learn of their prowess, their professionalism, and their performance on and off the field. The South Bend Cubs is now a reality and no longer a dream. Any of you who think this just may be about baseball, I think you'd be mistaken. There's a lot that has been written and talked about how the South Bend Cubs is also a vote of confidence. It's an economic development story as well. To have such an iconic brand, such a fantastic brand, vote with their feet and with their affiliation and their commitment to South Bend says volumes about what this community has in terms of its resources and its possibilities. To attract other businesses here also attracts jobs. It attracts a happier community. But it's a lot more than that. Today's gathering is also about honoring the past. Generations of fans that have come to love this brand, this team, simply because it elicits fond memories of a childhood. Like we heard from Jeff Ray in his picture in his pocket. I love that. Spent with mothers and fathers and families and friends. It's the smells, the sights, the sounds of a baseball game, whether it be at Wrigley or at Four Winds Field. Being a fan of the Chicago Cubs is about tradition, it's about loyalty, and it's about love. Through thick and thin, Cub fans are ever the optimists with, I think, a sense of humor and hope. To this day, I can still mimic the batting stance of every one of the players in the '69 Cubs lineup. The memory alone makes me miss my childhood friends like Chris Cullen and Markham Thomas, the guys I used to ride the L with to the games at Wrigley. I love those memories as we rode the L cloaked in cubby blue. It's also about the present. Since last week's announcement that the Chicago Cubs had selected South Bend, the swell of civic pride and sense of community has been so gratifying to see and hear. The letters, the emails, even the social media postings suggesting that we might give a nod to Studebaker and be called the South Bend Studs. I actually put a smile on my face when I saw that. I tweeted back to that particular post. I can imagine only the seventh inning stretch dance troupe and what they might look like. But I've tried to answer all of those emails. But as citizens together, we really can celebrate and take pride in this, as not only for South Bend, but also the entire Michiana region. The people here are so resilient and proud, with extraordinary, unparalleled resources in the community and a can-do attitude and culture, just like this team. And finally, it's about the future. As the owner of the South Bend Cubs, I, along with my colleagues at Four Winds Field, have a duty. We have an obligation to not only provide an exceptional fan experience to help make memories for the fans and their families, but we're also committed to player development. We're custodians and protectors of an extraordinarily precious asset to the Cubs, that being their players and their coaches. It's our job to ensure that the environment they experience is second to none when it comes to baseball fundamentals, education, fitness, and a holistic approach to player development, evolution, and growth. Chicago Cubs and the South Bend Cubs are now partners in a performance facility that is now the gold standard in the minor leagues. And once again, we can take pride in the fact that that gold standard is here in South Bend. Lastly, we're about making dreams come true. Each and every player that comes through South Bend, the South Bend Cub organization, is a man that as a boy dreamed for the moment they could wear this uniform and place themselves squarely on a path to the major leagues. Countless hours, days, weeks, months, years of not only this man, but their families and their friends that supported them virtually their entire life has been dedicated to this moment in time. So when the team takes the field in April of 2015 in our city, our cheers, our support, our adoration of the Cubs will remind them of every moment they are here that dreams can and do come true right here in South Bend. As for the biggest dream of all, winning a World Series, the necessary work towards that goal is being done. As a White Sox investor, I'm supremely jealous. The Cubs have the finest farm system as voted by Baseball America. But if you spoke with the Cubs, they play that down because they know the ultimate goal is not just to be the best farm system, but it's to be in the World Series. And I take pride, all of us should take pride, that the realization of that dream, when it happens, will in some part be attributed to the Cubs' move to South Bend, where winning with integrity and grit is very much a part of our DNA. And so to that end, I conclude my remarks with an anecdote from last week. Theo Epstein and Jason McLeod and I had a chance to tour Four Winds Field, to have lunch, to talk about the possibilities. And after we left Four Winds Field, we had a little time to kill before going back to Chicago. So we headed over to our neighbor, the University of Notre Dame. We had a chance to tour the campus, to look at the sights and sounds of that campus, and to see what the neighbors were like in the neighborhood. Not a bad neighbor. We also had a chance to visit with Father Jenkins, the president of the university, and he gave us the little speech about, gee, we sure hope you find a nice place here in this community. We'd love to be neighbors, committing all sorts of resources and whatever we can do to be good neighbors, whether it's a cup of sugar or anything else that's required. The president, Father Jenkins, was happy to provide that. And as the meeting was drawing to a close, we were standing up. He said to us, just in kind of a very nice, gracious way, he said, if there's anything else, please let me know. And at that moment, I said, you know what, Father, now that we're here in such company, I said, there is actually one thing we would like from you, I'd like from you. Could you please give a blessing to the Chicago Cubs to win the World Series? He was very accommodating and did just that. He gave us the blessing, but he also added under his breath, but I can make no guarantees. So, as the Cubs work their way to the big game in the Fall Classic, we have a lot to be proud of that we could possibly be a part of this. And so with that, I'd like to conclude and introduce Theo Epstein, the president of baseball operations for the Chicago Cubs.
That's a tough act to follow, and actually we've played pretty good baseball since that blessing, so we might be on to something. A nice win last night, but thank you for the kind words. Thank you all of you for being here, and thank you South Bend for having us. All of us at the Cubs are extremely excited about this new partnership and about the fact that we can call South Bend our Midwest League home. As you saw in the video, we do have a mission at the Cubs, and that is to win the World Series. And the way we're going to win the World Series is by developing young players, young men, through our farm system, having them come up through our system and schooled in the Cubs way, so they're prepared to step onto Wrigley Field, play great baseball, represent the community and the organization well, and play championship baseball into October. To do so, we need to master player development. It's the most important thing that we do. We have to school our players in the Cubs way. We need to develop them to their fullest physically, mentally, and fundamentally. And to do that, we need help. That's a big job. 150 or so players in the farm system, 16-year-old kids from Latin America, 17, 18-year-old kids coming straight out of high school, 20, 21-year-old kids coming right out of college, many of whom are living away from home for the first time. We need help. We need partners. We need great partners. So we need world-class facilities. We need supportive fans. We need a community. And we need a developmental partner. South Bend provides all those things. As you saw in the video, this is a wonderful, Four Winds Park. It's a wonderful ballpark to begin with. But when these renovations are done, I think it's going to be, as Andrew mentioned, the gold standard throughout A-ball, maybe all of the minor leagues from a player development standpoint. The game experience is fantastic. It's great for the fans. The players enjoy playing here. But what we'll have with the Performance Center beyond right field is really unparalleled, in my opinion, throughout this level. So we'll have the best possible facilities to develop our players, which was really important to us. We'll have extremely supportive fans and a welcoming community. I can't believe this welcome that we've had. This is unlike anything I've ever seen for a Major League club announcing a new affiliation. And I can't thank you enough for this welcome. And I know you're going to embrace our players with the same warmth and passion, and that makes me feel great because it takes a community to help develop players. And then finally, we really were looking for a developmental partner, and we couldn't ask for anyone better. Where's Andrew? We couldn't ask for anyone better than Andrew. To put it simply, we really wouldn't be here without him. I mean, he's we didn't sort of wake up and think about changing affiliations. We all know and love South Bend, but it wasn't top of mind to move here, especially before we became increasingly aware of the great development that's going on here and the turnaround that is happening in this community. But it was really Andrew's vision. And he's extremely compelling, persuasive individual with a great heart and the best of intentions. And he opened our eyes to the great things that are happening here, and to the fit, and to the fact that he would give us a world-class player development environment. And so I thank you, because I couldn't be happier that we're here and that we're affiliated with South Bend, and we wouldn't be were it not for you. So. Let this be the start of a beautiful friendship. We look forward to many successful seasons in South Bend, winning minor league baseball, more importantly, developing young players who are going to come up and win championships, not only in the Midwest League, as we did this year, but ultimately a world championship on the field at Wrigley. And you're all invited to the celebration when that happens, because you'll all have played a part in it. It'll be very meaningful for all of us. So. Be happy to answer questions at the end of the day, but we're just happy to be here, and we thank you for the warm welcome. My next role is to introduce Jason McLeod, our Vice President of Scouting and Player Development. Jason and I have worked together in baseball since 1995, scouted together, helped develop players together, and I can assure you, you're in great hands when it comes to the selection of talent, players that are ultimately playing here, and then the developmental approach that we take under Jason's leadership. It's tremendous. We do have what's ranked as the best farm system in baseball. Many of those players will be here next fall under the leadership of Jason and his staff, and you're in great hands. So without further ado, Jason McLeod.
Thank you very much. I have some notes here, but I think Theo took most of my talking points, so I'll have to ham it up like he likes to say I do. To echo what Theo said, we are very excited to be here in South Bend, and really look forward to the relationship, not only with Andrew and his amazing staff, but also with the community of South Bend. As I was sitting here listening to Andrew talk, it's amazing to think that it's only been a little over a week now that we were conversing and getting to know each other. And in that time, we've had quite a few conversations about player development, about the facility. And really what amazes me is the authenticity and the sincerity that comes across when you talk to Andrew. It's clear that he's passionate about baseball. It's very clear that he's passionate about the Cubs. But one thing I was saying, I think, to Joe this morning, when you hear him talk about South Bend, you would swear that he was a native son. We've had as many conversations about the city and the community and what he felt the impact of this partnership could do. And he talks with the same sincerity about South Bend as he does about baseball. And it's so authentic, and it's rare to see, because you deal with a lot of minor league baseball owners throughout our career. And it's just really refreshing and enlightening, and I think that this community, and certainly this organization, is very fortunate and lucky to have Andrew Berlin as a steward. So thank you, Andrew. Yeah, as I mentioned last week, whenever you change affiliates, it's never easy to do because you start building relationships with people in their individual towns, with some of the fans, with some of the staff. So it's when we start talking about a potential affiliate change, it's not something that's done lightly. As Theo said, we didn't just wake up and decide that we want to leave or go somewhere else. And what really brings us back to center is we're always constantly asking ourselves, what is in the best interests of our players, which then in turn will be what's in the best interests of our organization. So, as we're getting wind and hearing about some of the things that were going to be taking place down in South Bend, it certainly piqued our interest. And when the window of opportunity opened up to come down and sit with Andrew and Joe and see their plans and hear them talk about their vision, again, it was amazing to have a minor league owner talk so much about player development and the potential to play a small part in ultimately helping us get to where it is that we want to be. And as we started having more conversations about the facility itself, about what we felt our players could do here, it became pretty apparent to us right away that this would be, to use his words again, a gold standard of sorts in terms of the kind of work and the quality of work that our players could get done here. And when I think it was Andrew, someone had said earlier that he really gets it in terms of the community and how he talks so lovingly about South Bend. And on the player development side, I felt the same way. I said that he really gets it. He knows what it is we're trying to do. And again, it always goes back to our players and making decisions based on what we feel will be in their best interest and how we can get the most out of their abilities. Player development isn't always about wins and losses. Ultimately, we're trying to develop these young men to perform at a high level once they get to the major leagues. But in saying that, we're definitely trying to instill a winning culture throughout the organization. We all know that we have the greatest challenge in the history of sports now when we think about how long it's been. But it is something that's really grabbed hold of our players and our staff. And I think if you went to, I just came back from Instructional League, I think if you were in the Dominican Republic or in Mesa, up through anywhere through the minor leagues and talked to any of our staff, any of our scouts, you would really feel this sense of swelling enthusiasm and confidence in where it is that we're going. And certainly it's nice to get the rankings from Baseball America and some of the other scouting services, but we know ultimately we're building towards bigger things, and that's just part of that process. But we're also, we're not looking just to develop our players' physical skills. We really are trying to develop good people, and grow our players' minds as well. And we really believe if you have good characters, they're going to become better teammates, which and then hopefully they'll hold each other more accountable. And last year, as Theo mentioned, our Kane County team did win 98 games. They were the Midwest League champions, which was really a spectacular accomplishment. In my entire career, I've never seen a team play the way they did, win games the way they did, because they weren't a star-studded roster that you see littered with these top prospects on the Baseball America website, but they were a team that played the Cubs way, like we like to say, and were very fundamentally sound. They pitched very well, and they did the little things day in and day out that really culminated in accomplishing a really big thing and winning the championship. So it was a special group of young men who supported each other, and really those are the type of characters that we're looking to develop in our organization. So we certainly, like I was saying, we at the Cubs really feel good about where we are in terms of talent throughout the organization. I won't stand here and tell you that we're going to have a star-studded roster here next year, that we're going to win 98 games in this league again. But I will stand here and say that you'll have a team of young men who are going to play the Cubs way, and that is that they will be prepared, they will give their best effort night in and night out, and it will be a team that you'll be proud to sit in the stands with your families, with your colleagues, with your friends, and support throughout the year. So we are very, very happy and excited to be here. I can't thank Andrew and his staff enough for having the faith in us to team with us as well, and really looking forward to a long-standing partnership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Theo, Jason. You know, a lot has been, these gentlemen are very kind to say nice things about me, but I have to be very quick to add that there's a lot of support that gets this kind of adulation. People who deserve the credit for a lot of what we're doing and will do. One of those people is Joe Hart. Joe Hart, who is president of the South Bend Cubs. And Joe and I have been together now for 3 seasons and has been a magnificent partner in this grand journey and adventure that we're on. And so it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to the president of the South Bend Cubs, Joe Hart.
Well, thank you. It's amazing. It's hard to believe just 3 years ago I moved to this community, and I was an outsider. I was new to the community, much like the Cubs are coming in new to this new environment. And all I can say is you guys have opened your arms, this is a community, to welcome myself and my family. And that's just a little guy and a family from Pennsylvania. So I know what you can do for a community, as a community, for the Chicago Cubs. So Jason and Theo, it has been a very quick week for all of us. Your confidence in us is truly amazing, and we thank you for that. I can assure you, Andrew's got great leadership, and we're really driven by Andrew. But no, please know that if Andrew and I aren't available, you have a full-time staff of now South Bend Cubs members that will do exactly the same thing that we will. So it is a top-down commitment from our organization. The last week, as I said, has been extremely exciting, extremely overwhelming for me personally. As a matter of fact, I'd like to thank the media for being here today. I actually had to up my cell phone plan because I think I've talked to you all numerous times. But again, it's exciting. It says a lot for this community. From day one when we came here, we had big dreams. We wanted to make promises that we would deliver a first-class organization. I think we've been able to do that. This is just another chapter in that great story. I'd like to thank my staff because, again, as Andrew says, it is far greater than 1 or 2 people. We have an amazing staff here. I think many of you have gotten to know them. And if you haven't, I would welcome you to reach out to them and just say hello. And because we will tell you thank you for everything you've done for us. As things go on, there's going to be a lot of new changes, a lot of new news coming forward over the coming weeks. We have a new website, southbendcubs.com. You can follow us now on Twitter at SBCubs, and you can now also follow us on Facebook at South Bend Cubs. Again, I can't thank you all enough. This is, for me, professionally, seems like every time I'm in this room, it gets more and more exciting from a personal and professional standpoint. But today truly is, it is a win for this community. It's a win for our organization, and it's going to be a win for the Chicago Cubs. So the other thing I'd like to show is you briefly saw him in the video, is just some of the highlights of some of the things we're doing. And it's been pretty clear what's happening in the new Cubs Den facility. The construction's getting ready to take place and start. As everybody said, it's going to be a first-class facility and one that we're extremely proud of as well. And then also the improvements that we are going to be making to our locker room. Because as part of player development is, what most people don't realize, these players spend 10, 11, 12 hours a day at the facility. They don't just show up for a game. So we need to provide the best possible facilities for them, because what helps develop that winning culture is wanting to be around the ballpark, wanting to be with their teammates. And we've made changes over the years, but there's a lot more to come. And we look forward to having the Cubs here for many, many years. And again, thank you all very much. This doesn't happen without this community. I'm so proud to be a South Bend native now. So thank you very much. And at this point, we're going to turn over to Andrew if he can answer any questions.
We do want to get to questions, but I'm in big trouble if I don't thank the big boss. Okay, my wife Courtney is here with me. And believe me, she is a great partner in my life and in my business. So thank you very much. So I guess we'll open up to questions. and we'll do a photograph here with Theo and Jason, myself, and Joe in front of the new logo in a moment. But we're all available for questions. Whoever would like to go. Yes.
Checking to see if there's ever a possibility of spring training happening here. Any major league teams coming to South Bend for that?
For spring training, given our weather, I'll let Theo answer that.
That would be a new one for us. Yeah, but I think you may have been referring to the possibility of exhibition games towards the end of spring training, and yeah, we're open-minded about that. You know, it's something that if the schedule would ever allow it, we'd love to deliver for South Bend, but certainly no promises and nothing on the schedule yet. But we'd love to further the relationship that way down the road at some point. Thanks.
Theo, given the proximity to Chicago, how likely is it that when players need rehab assignments, a game or two, that this becomes the destination?
Yeah, it's likely that we'll have plenty of rehabs here. Every rehab situation has a number of variables involved. So if the player requires a AAA experience, obviously he'll be going to Iowa. But if what is called for is appropriate at the A-ball level, certainly the geography, the proximity makes it an extremely attractive destination. The fact that we know the player will be in good hands with the staff here and the leadership here, we wouldn't hesitate for a minute to send a player here, as we did with our previous Midwest League affiliate. So I think there's a good chance that you'll see major league players suiting up as South Bend Cubs.
Was this a hard decision or an easy decision for you? Did you expect 2 weeks ago that you'd even be here?
It was a hard decision to leave the Kane County Cougars. They're local. We had a great relationship with them. So leaving was hard, but once we opened it up and then we got to hear about Andrew's vision, and we got to learn more about South Bend and what it has to offer, and we got to see the plans for the player development aspects of the renovation, that became an easy decision for us. And Jason and I, after visiting and seeing the plans and hearing Andrew's vision, we just talked about it, and we kept coming back to the question about what's best for our prospects. We have, there are lots of other variables involved. We knew it wouldn't be a popular decision necessarily to change locally, but when we kept coming back to the most important question, what's best for our prospects, it led us clearly to South Bend.
Kind of have a recent history of kind of franchise hopping in St. LA. Is it significant this is a 4-year deal, or what can you say about a long-term commitment?
Well, I think a four-year deal is appropriate given the nature of the investment in the ballpark, giving us exactly what we're looking for from a player development standpoint, changing the name to Cubs. I think all indications from both sides are that this will be a long-term, mutually beneficial relationship, so it seemed appropriate to put our money where our mouth is with a 4-year deal.
So how soon can we expect one of our South Bend Cubs players to make it to the majors?
That's a good question. Whenever I'm asked about the timeline for a prospect, when's he going to make his major league debut, when's he going to advance to the next level, I always try to steer the conversation back to how is he going to get there, not when is he going to get there. And the how is by maximizing his development physically, mentally, fundamentally. We give each player in our minor league system, so all of the South Bend Cubs will have individualized player development plans that list their strengths and weaknesses from those three standpoints. And we tell them that in order to advance, in order to become big leaguers, simply work on your weaknesses until they become strengths, and that's when you'll get there. So I'll say that we'll have some really talented players here that will become accountable for their own development, and we'll work hard to turn those weaknesses into strengths, and when they do, you'll see a South Bend Cub suiting up at Wrigley Field.
Theo, how important was switching back to natural grass to this happening?
I think it was fundamental. It was probably a rate-limiting step. It would be hard to envision us voluntarily switching to an artificial surface, and not only is it going to be a grass surface, but from the sounds of it and hearing about the plans and the investment in the grass itself and the expertise of the people installing the grass, it's going to be probably, you know, as nice as any minor league field, probably big league caliber field.
Andrew, when you think about when you bought this franchise, what are some of the key decisions you felt like you've made that has set the stage for the Cubs to come today?
That's a great question, Darren. I think in any strategy, I think every company is always full of great ideas, and we're not short on great ideas, but we were short on having the right people in place to execute those great ideas, and not to make a guy feel good just for the sake of making my employees feel good. But Joe Hart was a great first step, because what Joe was able to do, he brought an expertise, he brought a skill set, but he also had the traits, that desire, that ambition, the energy, the creativity, the imagination, that fire in the belly to succeed. And he recruited people who felt that same way. And I can start naming names, but inevitably I'm going to forget a name, and then I'm going to be in trouble. I'm sorry, ABC 57. Can you hear me? So I mean that was those are the best decisions. And then of course, making the park so good that it can't be ignored. The fan experience had to be fantastic, and then that was able to attract Four Winds, field, and for the tribe to invest in our vision, and the naming rights deal was fantastic, and not to mention the alliteration of Four Winds Field. And then from there, we were able to keep investing in the team and not have to go back to the taxpayers for the assistance, but to actually become a self-sustaining enterprise. And then to be able to attract a partnership like this is just that next step. And the vision continues. The best idea even after that is, as we shoot for doubling attendance over this year's record year, we have to figure out how to raise the roof and add another level and add more seats, and make this the center of of the development efforts of downtown South Bend. So make no small plans, because they're all possible. One follow-up to the 4-year player development contract that was asked about. We do appreciate the vote of confidence of the 4-year PDC, but in my head, I'm already thinking about renewing it. So we're going to do such a good job for these guys that they're going to want to re-up. So I'm constantly, I don't rely upon this contract to keep it going. My ambition is perpetuity. So not 4 years, but we have to earn it. We do have to earn it.
I don't know if this is a question for Jeff, or maybe Andrew. Has anyone done any kind of study on that financial impact that this announcement and the next 4 years and beyond could have on St. Joseph County, South Bend, our region?
That's a good question. I think there are probably some qualitative metrics that could probably be analyzed to discuss what the economic impact could be. I think there's a lot of discussion points, and there are lots of cities in the United States that can demonstrate with comparables of how development of a team in a downtown area has turned around various areas, and there's really that storyline is replete throughout the United States. Jeff may be able to provide some information, but that might be actually fodder for a good follow-up. But right now, at this moment, I don't have that information.
And then we're getting some tweets on social media and Facebook. Some of our viewers want to know what's going to happen to Swoop.
Swoop. So, well, we first have to get him back for the dry cleaners. It was a long summer for Swoop. I see Swoop making an appearance at Four Winds Field. I mean, that bird hasn't flown the coop. He's still here, and unless we have drumstick night, I think he's safe.
What about the name change of the team? Was that a tough decision? Was that closer to a no-brainer?
It was probably closer to a no-brainer. And we had the question was changing the name of the team. We're leveraging for South Bend one of the greatest brands, certainly in baseball, possibly in corporate world too. I mean that C is known throughout the world, and not to expand it. Obviously, our fan base is not worldwide, but it is a fantastic brand for this city. And so to think that we were going to be something else other than the South Bend Cubs though it was a consideration, and we talked about it. And by the way, we still want to continue throughout the season, paying homage to Studebaker and the Silverhawk. We don't want to lose that heritage and the tradition and the fond memories of that. We can have we can have Studebaker night, we can have Silverhawk night, we can do a variety of things to continue to honor that heritage. But South Bend Cubs just seemed like a natural for us. First question back here.
Well, I was part of the last week's push to break the attendance record, and I'm so glad to hear that attendance is going to keep going up. I know that Chicago is only a short drive away. To have them experience and enjoy South Bend.
I think it would be magnificent. As many of you know, or if some of you are from out of town, the Union Station is across the street from our Four Winds Field. And the Amtrak line does run through there to make that a stop from Chicago, what could be about an hour-and-a-half train ride from downtown. Could be extraordinary development for this city in the area. So yeah, I'm all for it. I don't know all the particulars, but in concept, it sounds like a great idea. They have fans coming down here and getting off the train across the street from the field. Someone in the back, sir?
Yeah.
I want to ask Mr. Epstein, what will it take to get 4 more years?
Wow. Thank you.
I think just to let the relationship develop organically. I think when you found the right partner, as I believe we have, and as I believe you have, you just have to let time pass, solve problems together, face adversity together, defeat that adversity together, celebrate together, and then identify, embrace, and tackle new challenges together. I look forward to doing that, and this is every chance in the world of becoming a long-term partnership.
I think it's also it's like any marriage or any relationship. It's you get out of it what you put into it.
Sorry,
That's all right.
Siri. Siri is jealous of our new relationship.
She's such a bitch.
You said it.
That are, I would say, kind of prospect junkies, would you consider maybe bringing a AAA Iowa Cub team here as either an all-star or maybe an off-site game? Because once players like Schwarber and Bryant leave the area, we just don't get to see them again until they're in the majors. And I know, obviously, it'd be easier in King County, but now that South Bend's so close, I think it'd be great for the people of Chicago, too.
Yeah, we've considered that. We've had games at Wrigley before with our AAA affiliate, and that's something we consider. I hadn't thought about it hosting a AAA game at an A-ball affiliate, but with the way the park is going to look and the quality of the playing field, I wouldn't put any limitations on what we do in the future. But the goal is to really vertically integrate the entire organization so that you stay connected to the players as they move up the system, and certainly it'll be easy once they're at Wrigley, but we'd love for the fans in South Bend to continue following the South Bend Cubs as they move up into high A, AA, and AAA.
What are some of the things that drew you guys to South Bend? Are there some specific examples you can give us?
Yeah, I keep going back to the player development aspect. So, our job is to develop talented major league players from inside the organization. There's so many things that can go wrong that we need to try to put the players in the best possible position. They need to have the best instruction. They need to have the best player development manual. They need to have the most support possible from the front office, but they also need the best facilities. And it's what Andrew envisions here and the plans that they have we will have a performance center that will, I think, represent a competitive advantage for our A-ball players. And that's something that we've tried to create in spring training in Mesa, where we have a brand new state-of-the-art performance center. It's something that will be part of restored Wrigley Field in a couple of years. We never dreamed of having something of that caliber for our low A ball affiliate, but now it's dueling Surreys here. But I think the fact that that's going to become a reality was really a difference maker for us. And then that drew us in. The fact that we saw a player development competitive advantage, and then getting to know the people, getting to hear the story of the community and how it's on the upswing, and the support that we would get from the fans in the community. It really, the whole package presented itself. But what first got our attention was Andrew's vision for a player development operation that matched our own. Yes.
Speaking of relationships, any chance Manny Ramirez may summer in our fair city?
We'll see. Manny had a great experience as part of the Cubs player development operation this past year, and I know he's interested in staying with the Cubs down the road in some capacity. So we'll see. But we have many expert instructors and coaches who will come through here. Not only the manager and the field staff, but the coordinators, our mental skills program. You'll see plenty of us from the front office in Chicago make the short trip down here, and we'll be active members in the community as well. We're not just passing through, just seeing a game. I think there are already some plans for some community relations programs with our players that we'll get behind. So you'll see plenty of us, and maybe even a Hall of Famer. Who knows? A future Hall of Fame.
Great. Any other questions? Well, thank you again for your time and attention, and your the coverage is magnificent. I want to thank Theo and Jason for being here. It's wonderful to have you, and welcome to the neighborhood, and welcome to the South Bend Cubs. Thank you.
The W flag. You're welcome to take pictures of us taking a picture. If you want to talk to them,
Okay. Nice to meet you too.
Oh,